This is really a Richard. We're gonna name it Richard.
That would be funny.
Greetings, we are back. We are in Austin, Texas, and we are at Franklin.
We're here to talk to the main man himself on all things barbecue and Franklin, and we are so excited to get this opportunity.
We're going to talk Franklin Back Pit Barbecue. We're going to talk about his past, how he became the man he is today,
And a lot about food.
So, without further ado, let's meet Aaron.
Texas, y'all.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking a bit of time out to see us.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
I did watch the video of you guys unleashing the pit. I'm glad you didn't break the window.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I've been there before.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite part. That really connected with me as a human.
Right, we are here. I can't believe it. This is really surreal. Aaron Franklin from Franklin BBQ. Thank you so much for taking a bit of time out to see us.
It's really sweet that you guys are like, oh, this is so surreal. This is our break table. So,
We're not employees yet.
Yeah, like we'd sit out here, eat breakfast tacos, and I do my emails and stuff. But yeah, I guess it is kind of a cool little spot. We're up in the nether regions.
It's awesome. And we bought your book. Go check it out. If we put some links in the description. The first thing that struck me when I started reading this is you've come from humble beginnings. So and
probably some pretty humble endings too.
Nothing's been given to you. You've worked really hard.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and your first smoker, $99 smoker, Hondo.
Oh, it was a New Braunfels. I don't know what. I think it was the size bigger than a Hondo. I think the Hondo was maybe the little one, but I don't know. I don't think they're even making them anymore, and I know for sure that one doesn't exist anymore.
Wow.
I'm sure it rusted out years ago.
That's a bit like our first one.
Yeah.
We might use it as like a plant decorator. Put some plants in.
Well, so what I did with my first one, after we opened up Franklin BBQ, the trailer in 2009, a couple people that were into barbecue, I like gifted it to them. I was like, okay, on one condition, you can't ever get rid of it. You can give it to someone else that wants to cook on it, or you can give it back to me. And it's just been kind of making the rounds. I think now it's like in Ohio somewhere or something like that. Yeah, I've loosely kept up with it. But.
Your second smoker was the same model, but it was free on Craigslist. Is that right? The second?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I found it on Craigslist. I think, man, I want to say like July 4th, we had a little barbecue. I was like, I need another cooker. And of course, always looking on Craigslist. It was, still on dial-up, modem. I was like, man, I would really love to cook 4 briskets. Yeah. But of course, I was always looking for free stuff. It's like, what? Old bathtub, can I make a cooker out of this? An old refrigerator. This is weird. Just always trying to get, figure out some way to build something.
Fantastic. And the other thing was you saved up a $20 knife from Ace Mart.
Yep, now they're about $55. Same ones we still use up there.
Wow, and it's still at the restaurant? Mm-hmm. You kept it?
Well, no, not that one. I mean, we go through like probably 20 knives a year here. But we use the same model as that first one.
A couple of other things. I was trying to find some sort of common ground, and you were a drummer.
That's true.
Drummer.
Oh, very cool.
24-inch bass drum.
Nice.
24-inch kick drum.
26.
26?
Yeah.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
It's true. Although I've always played 24s. I do have a 24 also, but yeah, what kind of kit do you play?
It was, back then it was a DW, drum workshop, and now I've got an Orange County drum percussion.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I play a CNC kit, so.
Yeah, really nice. So, drummer, we are the same age.
104?
Yes. Yeah,
you don't look a day over 50.
As you know, we bought the smoker, and it's our second baby. It's our second
Don't
baby.
say that too loud.
Yeah.
So you guys like it.
Oh,
that's great.
Amazing.
We were telling the guys, it just smells phenomenal already, and we've only done a few cooks, but I know it's going to get better and better, isn't it?
Sometimes we sit outside and have a coffee in the morning.
Yeah, just stare and just look at it.
But we just like, And it's like, oh yeah, it's still
Well,
got the
so
cover
it's
on.
funny that you mentioned that. That's how I came up with the espresso barbecue sauce that we serve
It's
here.
here. Yeah,
This one right here.
Yeah.
We don't bottle it because it's just too volatile. You know, it doesn't work quite right. But I was cooking barbecue out on the back porch on that little New Braunfels cooker, and had a little espresso machine. You know, just all tubes everywhere. It was totally rigged up. I was like, I need some. Been thinking about some kind of sauce, like some kind of unique something for this before we opened the trailer, of course. And I was like, had the back door open, was having an espresso like 2 in the morning. It's like, that's it, espresso barbecue sauce.
Oh, we're gonna have to try that when we go in.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got the smoker. The first smoke we've done, we've not got much experience. The first smoke we did on the Franklin pit, we learned so much.
Yeah. Well, and that's the cool thing about those is they're like, since there aren't any dampers, there's like nothing to like futz around with. Like it's just basic. It's like a little hot rod that's built for speed.
Yeah.
I think that's the cool thing about those. That's what I really love about it, and that's why I designed it that way. Is that, you know, every time you do it, you learn something, so it stays interactive.
Yeah.
You know, you can never really walk away from it, so it keeps you engaged in your cooks.
Yeah.
Keeps you engaged in all the details that are going on, and you just get better at it.
Yeah.
And then one day you're like, oh my God, this is the best. This is the best thing ever.
I think it brings me back to the Neanderthal when you know, starting a fire.
Meat, fire.
Fire, yes. And then, you know, cooking meat, you know,
Yeah.
smoke and heat and stuff. And it really struck a chord.
Yeah.
So
It's so primitive. It's just so like, it's kind of what we are.
And not only that, you can have a beer as well.
Yeah. Not too many though.
Not too many, no. No.
We're really, really loving it, and it's something that we didn't think we'd ever get into and want to do.
Yeah.
But I think we just got the bug because we came to Texas last October.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
And we were like, we need to get one of those. We need to try our hand at smoking.
It's weird. We can hear the line out there.
It's busy already. It's very
It's kind of rainy today. I blame you guys for the weather.
We came from Florida, so you can't blame us. We didn't bring it with us.
Well,
from the
then
UK.
I'll just keep blaming Florida.
I was going to ask, what's your favourite smoker to use?
Well, the Franklin pit.
Great answer.
So my favorite cooker, it's actually a good bit bigger than the backyard pits, than the Franklin pits, but it's Laverne and Shirley, and they're on trailers. And that was not the first one that I made. The diameter of a 250, but the length of a 500-gallon tank, but I rolled it and made it out of pipe. So it doesn't have the heads on it, but it's all like different. So it actually adds 3 briskets to the capacity on each side.
Wow.
But Laverne and Shirley was the first one that I did like out of a thin wall, and then we pressed the heads and did everything from scratch. And that is my favorite cooker to cook on. I only cook on it about once or twice a year, but I really, really love it a lot. And that is the big version of the Franklin pits. So like the way that the heads are pressed and the way that we cut everything and roll everything, that was kind of like the practice run. But of course it fits 30 briskets, so it's a little bigger than a backyard usually.
Yeah,
Just a
don't
little
think
bit,
we'll ever get to that.
No.
You never know. I never
know.
thought I would either.
Well, okay, there could be a Mr. and Mrs. H barbecue shop opening somewhere in the UK.
Yeah.
Watch this space. We bought one of your pre-smoked briskets yesterday.
Oh, fun.
It was, yeah.
Yep, Alan's birthday, so we bought a
Nice.
brisket.
Very cool.
And we had a go at it. That's the first brisket you've ever
Handled.
cooked and handled.
Really?
Yeah.
You've never done a brisket cook
No,
before?
No. Back in the UK, we don't get brisket like you get over here.
I know.
We go to special
I've
places.
cooked over there before and had some interesting meats. Yeah. It's hard. That actually has a lot to do with why I don't cook over there, because it's so hard to get that cut of meat, like a packer cut. Like we use EU spec here, but I'm taking all of them. There's no EU spec briskets that I use that get over to Europe at all, because they're all coming through here. But I smell what you're stepping in for sure.
I like that one, because we definitely stepped in something with that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
We're working our way up to cooking one, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're trying to.
Motley Crue fan? Because
Not a huge Motley Crue fan, but you're right. One of the cookers is named Nikki Six. I started building so many 1,000-gallon cookers for the smokehouse, which, we show you guys all that stuff later. And I was like, well, number 2 was Rusty Shackelford. Number 1 was Muchacho. Number 3 was, I don't know, whatever it was. It's like, I better start naming these the numbers in chronological order. So Nikki Six was one of the first ones I could come up with.
We still haven't named ours, have we?
we haven't. A few of our subscribers have.
Wonderful suggestions, but we've not christened it.
Well, you know what? It'll rear its own personality one day, and you'll be cooking on it. You're like, this is really a Richard. We're going to name it Richard.
That would be funny.
So when we had the Franklin pit delivered, obviously we don't have the big backyards like you do, and the houses are quite built up. And do you have the term curtain twitchers?
No.
So curtain twitchers are like a nosy neighbour, and the curtains are doing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
When it came off the lorry, and it's great big thing, and it's like massive. What were they
Yeah.
doing?
What the heck's going on over there?
Yeah. So we got a couple of people saying, what's this big chimney coming up from the back of you? Oh, we got a smoker, and so we're going to say, look, when we get good at it, we're going to try and have like a street party.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you totally should.
And that's the enjoyment of food, and we both love food.
We do.
And the channel's all about American food, and sharing that love with people that you love is
It's
just
really, I mean, that is the same way that Franklin BBQ started. Just having little backyard barbecues, and just more and more people got excited about it. We're like, oh, well, you know,
We do
just,
something
I mean,
with
like
it.
hosting parties. That's what we do here every day. We just host a big party.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it, isn't it?
yeah, wonderful. And you were the barbecue guy in your street, weren't you? The barbecue guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still am.
Like amongst other things.
Now everybody's like, it's the barbecue guy.
So you obviously are quite a foodie as well, because you've got multiple restaurants as well, haven't you? What is your favourite thing to eat other than barbecue?
Oh, that's a really easy answer for me. Vegetables and seafood.
Okay.
Preferably cold and raw.
Right.
Total opposite of barbecue.
And this one hates seafood, so I think on your recommendation, where should I take him to eat to get those kind of things to see if he likes it?
I think you guys should go to our other restaurant, Uptown Sports Club.
Yep, okay.
Because there's a raw bar, you can get some good oysters, totally different oysters than you guys get over there. They don't taste at all the same. There's like a beef tartare, there's steak frites on the menu at night, there's po' boys, there's gumbo, there's tuna crudo, there's all kinds of stuff, so yeah.
Definitely have to try that. I mean, I don't hate seafood.
You just haven't had the right seafood yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
Well, and seafood's different over there too.
Yeah.
So you guys have similar waters, but other sides, so it's kind of... you guys get like different stuff.
Yeah.
It's like here in Texas, we have the Gulf, so we get most of our seafood from further north.
Elsewhere, yeah.
Yeah.
If you haven't checked this book out, please.
And the new
This
one
book
also, which is Franklin Smoke. I don't know, do you guys have that one?
Got the
No.
steak one.
The steak one was the second one, and that's really nerdy on everything steak.
Yep.
The stakes were high for that one. But, you know, smoking's a filthy habit, so we did the third book called Franklin Smoke. Hang on a second.
Okay,
I think I've
thank
probably
you.
got one in my office.
Oh, bless you.
So this one, flip through that thing.
Oh, wow.
So the first one was kind of geared towards like running a restaurant. It was kind of like, you know, a day in the life of Franklin BBQ. Like in the first one, my friend Jordan, and co-author, recorded on a little voice recorder, like me cooking ribs and doing the stuff. And he would just trail me every day. We'll cut lunch and, you know, at the end of the day, be like, hey, you mentioned this. Hey, you mentioned this. So he recorded all this stuff and kind of organized the transcriptions. And that was the first book. But the second one we wrote during COVID and towards the tail end of COVID, when we started cooking on the Franklin pit in the backyard, started kind of reconnected with cooking on fire pits and stuff like that because it wasn't working all the time. So this book is more geared towards home cooks. And it's actually got a lot more recipe stuff going on, but it's also got a more in-depth brisket recipe, which is crazy because the first one had an 11-page recipe. I think this one's like a 20-something page brisket recipe, but it's also kind of recaps like all the stuff I've learned over the last 10 years because I don't cook the same now that I cooked 10 years ago at all, which is kind of funny. You know, I noticed this a couple years ago. There's like, oh, when the master class you said this. Oh, on the PBS show you said this. And that first book you said this. I'm like, you know, I guess I don't do that anymore.
Yeah,
you know, like, but it's evolved a lot.
Yeah.
So the most current iteration is Franklin Smoke.
Oh, we'll have to have a look at that.
yeah.
And that might
definitely.
change in a couple years. Who knows?
No,
but that's
it's always
You always
different.
learn stuff. And
I read that Stacey does is it the Green Goddess dip?
yeah.
Is that featured in any of these?
No, but I can give you the recipe. We have it at the other restaurant.
I'd love to try it because
Yeah.
I read it's quite good with vegetables and things.
Yeah,
as well.
it is.
Get Lana on it as well.
Yeah.
She likes to dip.
Oh yeah, well we have a crudité at the other place.
Ah.
Or like pickled things and fresh veggies with green goddess dressing. So.
Perfect for
Yeah.
her then. Yeah,
Yeah, we
we're
love
definitely going to have to go.
We had our first queso.
Oh, look
Well-
out, where'd you go?
El Dorado Calf.
Yeah, best Tex-Mex in Austin.
We really
Ate there 2 nights ago.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Did we say did we? day?
We were there on, maybe it wasn't 2 nights ago, Tuesday.
We were there Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great spot.
It was. We really, really enjoyed it. For us, we don't get many Mexican places back home, or at least close to us. So trying to pronounce some of the things off of the menu, we're glad we had Alan and Aaron.
Yeah.
They were like, that's how you say it. But the
Like,
food was phenomenal.
queso. Hey, y'all.
We joked now, didn't we? Because obviously we went to Texas last year. Unfortunately, we didn't make it to Franklin. Well, obviously we're here now.
Yeah, here you are.
But we went to Texas and we joked, went to Texas, loved barbecue, and came back with a Franklin pit.
Darn, I feel so bad for you guys.
It's a lifelong investment for us.
Yeah.
We want to look after it, we want to season it, do lots of cooks, and something eventually hand down to Alana when she's older.
Yeah, well, and that's really, and I know it's in the literature for this thing, but that's really kind of how I designed it. It's like, I want this thing to last forever. We were trying to figure out how to honor a 100-year warranty because I thought that would be really cool.
Oh.
Turns out that is very much not feasible because who's going to repair it? We don't know. But that thing should last 100 years. I mean, it's like grandma's cast iron skillet.
Yeah.
You keep it lubed up, keep it clean. That thing will last forever. The only part that might wear out is the grate on the bottom, and that's why it's bolt-on.
Okay.
It's all kinds of details.
It's little flames on the cast.
Yeah, heck yeah, there are.
I
I
love
saw
that.
that.
Yeah.
Like, the attention to detail on the pit is unreal.
There's some cool details. Like if you look on the underside of the deflector plate where you put the water pan, it's welded. So we bevel the inside of that, and then we fill it with weld and grind it smooth, so the air can scoop up. And then we round off the inside of the smokestack, like little things that you would never know exist.
I just want to say I'm really thankful for the fact that you didn't make the lid too heavy because I've
like it
tested
too.
out a few and I can open half of them, and that
Yeah.
one and the rotating.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, the spinning handle is a
Yeah.
huge thing. The ones up there, I started doing it about halfway through those, and man, it makes such a big difference.
It does.
What a nice little detail.
Yeah.
I've always really had a weird aesthetic problem with the big counterweights that people put on things. It's like, just make the door lighter. It's
Yeah.
not that big of a deal. And I just think they're just so clunky and just kind of like not really pleasing to look at.
Yeah.
It looks like a transformer or something like that.
Did you ever think you'd be making your own smokers to sell? Because I know you've always tinkered with them and made, like you said earlier, made things out of random things, but not fridges. But
Yeah, no, maybe. Well, during the first book, we kind of was like, it'd be nice to get these out in the world and help people start. But then, that was like 10 years ago, is when we wrote that first book. I was like, I think I could sell this because I wanted it to be super cheap for every man's cooker, like layaway plan, like figure out any way to get them in the hands of anybody that wanted one. And then by the time we started making them, COVID had happened, supply chain issues, the cost of steel like tripled or quadrupled, and it hasn't really come down that much. So we quickly learned that it's not possible to build the best darn cooker in the world without a hefty price tag.
Yeah,
'Cause,
exactly.
at the end of the day, you get what you pay for.
Exactly.
And it costs real money
we
and real labor.
We bought a cheap one from a garden centre.
But it's a great way to start. I mean, if you can make it hot, you can cook on it in theory.
Well, that's the
But
problem.
they sure do
never-
get nicer.
Yes, we've enjoyed, and I think it's so much easier for us to manage, isn't it?
Oh, it just chugs away at sort of 275. And now...
It's got a sweet spot once you find it.
And I'm sorry, Britain, I'm cooking in Fahrenheit now. I am no longer doing Celsius.
Yeah, all your metric stuff, just fell off the plane when you crossed the pond.
I was just going to ask, you touched on us passing our smoker on down to a land, it might last in a lifetime. Are your family very involved? I know obviously Stacey's involved.
Stacy, for sure. Stacy's parents have helped out a lot over the years. So Steve, my father-in-law, back in the day, he'd go to events with me and help me watch the fire overnight and stuff like that. And they don't really do too much these days. But yeah, they've helped a ton over the years. And my parents don't really actively do anything. Well, my dad's no longer with us. But in the early days, they helped out a whole lot with just helping with money. And the initial money that we got to open our trailer was $12,000 that I got from my parents. And then paid back later. But so that was a big help and stuff, and they really enabled us to be able to make this kooky dream work.
Well, I live in a dream.
We talked about COVID. How did that affect the business? And are you back to where you were?
Yeah. We're totally back. We were situated already pretty well with just our logistics and everything to be able to pivot pretty easily. So we actually closed the restaurant before it was mandatory. By a day or two, we're like, oh man, this isn't going to be good. Let's switch to curbside stuff. And it was like, what are you doing? going? That's dumb. And we turned the restaurant around in one day on a Monday when we were closed anyway. So on Tuesday, we reopened with a completely different model, but it worked out pretty good because we already had our online ordering figured out. So we had to tweak that. That was complicated, but we could pull it off. And then we just cleared out the dining room and just built stations in there for everybody to stay separated and all that stuff, which sounds so ridiculous now. And hindsight, it's like, God, that was, but nobody knew. We didn't have any data, But so we were able to do the parking lot. So here in Texas, we got plenty of room, and we were already well situated for it. So it was fine. Once we figured it out, it took us about a week to figure out the cadence of everything, like how many orders we can do, how big the orders can be, I think the biggest problem was traffic control in the parking lot.
Yeah. Wow.
And we had people out there with radios and doing stuff. At some point, I was out on I-35 directing traffic on the first day because we blocked both sides of I-35, and traffic was stopped going this way too because so many people were trying to get in here to get their order. We're like, oh my gosh. And I was like, are you going to Franklin BBQ? Okay, go that way. Hey, okay, you go that way. On an interstate.
Wow. So the pre-orders, was that something of COVID or was that before COVID?
We did that before COVID.
Oh, okay.
We started doing that a long time ago. We'd do pre-orders up front, and I would cook ribs, and then at 10:15, when all the ribs were off, I would run upstairs and start getting through briskets and stuff for 40 minutes, and then a 5-minute reset, and then I would cut lunch. So we could only get 5 orders in or something like that. And it's like, hey, how's it going? All right. And we would let that happen up front. And then eventually we built a trailer, quite a few years ago now, maybe, I don't know. My timeline's a little off. And then we started doing the pre-orders out of this, not this trailer, but the one on the other side. And then, so now about half of our food goes through that trailer every day.
And how involved are you on a day-to-day basis still with cooking?
Well, I don't really cook much anymore. We've got such talented cooks up there. We've got about 12 people that cook, and they're awesome. They've been here a super long time. We're celebrating a lot of 10-year work anniversaries right now, which is really cool for a restaurant. I think about 6 or 7 people have been here a decade now. Everybody's so good. I don't cook much anymore. I guide them every day. I'm like, hey, this fire's a little like this. I think we need to bump up temps 3 degrees on this cooker between hours 5 and 6.5. Back off a little bit before wrap, push a little harder on here, 350 on this, but we have a text thread, so we talk about it every day. We look at pictures of briskets and we map everything, and we record our times and temps, and we just, so much data collection, and then I can look at a slice, we're like, okay, send more off of number 3. You guys are too low post-wrap. Bump it 5 degrees.
So you can tell just by looking on those photos.
Gotten really good at it, actually.
Wow.
So that's my job. But I'm here pretty much every day. I'm just in and out every day.
Yep.
If I'm not here, I rely more on the pictures. If I am here, I just kind of look at the stuff on trays and I'm like, hey, good job on ribs, and then just kind of give feedback accordingly.
Because have you got any tips for us? Like, obviously we haven't smoked a brisket yet. What to look out for when we're cooking one or feeling one? Like, how would we?
Oh my gosh, that could take us days to talk through.
It's quite here for a while.
I'll tell you though, in this book right here, there on page 179, this is a stream of consciousness that goes through the entire cook. So all the stuff is kind of in there in pretty heavy detail. And then also, you can ask anytime about specifics.
Oh,
it would take me way too long.
Thank you. I watched a YouTube video with you doing like a tour behind the scenes, etc. And you were talking about, and I may be way off base here, but you were talking about the cutting boards and they can speed up and slow down the line. I was like, were you looking at that like a smoker? It's like, so the line is like smoke coming through, and it's like
no. That's an interesting take. I've never thought of it that way.
Okay, that's way off.
But that's pretty intuitive, though. No, not really. I think with cutting stuff, and of course you want to be as fast as you can. And like, all right, no, I would always kind of time something like, okay, I'm down to 30 seconds per guest. All right, like a cut. But then we would run out of seats, and like if more people are taking it to go, which isn't the case anymore because we have the trailer now. So we used to do everything and be like, I need 25 pounds of this, and you'd sit there and cut. So then you talk to the people behind him, you'd get them snacks, get this person to step over while you're cutting it, and like do this. You're seeing people get up and like, all right, hey, you guys go over there. So I used to cut off the line from the cutting board and be like, hey, you purple sweater guy, what are you gonna get? All right, you're the last guy for that. And then I would like start to make everything line up, so that was the last guy. But that's really where that timing came in. So when I stopped cutting, and I stopped cutting about I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, something like that, when I just really, we had a kid, you know, and was like, oh man, this isn't going to work. I can't work from midnight to 10 p.m. every day. And it was like, well, for quality of life and just like sustainability, I had to back out a little bit, and we're better for it in the long run. But when I started training other people to cut, it was like, okay, well, think about the timing. You know, if you've got like a host at a restaurant or something like that, like you've got to pace the kitchen a little bit and make you got to check all the boxes.
Yeah. So I was listening to it. I was just like, and I know on the Franklin pet you can't dampen things down, but it was the way you were you can't go wrong.
Keep it clean, man. Keep it clean.
Yeah, exactly.
We have had quite a few comments on, we just need to do the dampener. We're like, we don't have a dampener.
Yeah. But when you learned how to control your fire, you really don't need one. I agree. It's handy when it's really cold outside or it's windy. Tin foil comes in real handy.
Okay.
Insider tip. But really, I mean, if you have a good, solid coal bed, you could slow down, you could speed up, you can make it hotter, cooler, you can make it hotter on the backside, hotter by the stack. I mean, you can control every aspect of that thing.
Yeah.
Because really, a damper, I think, over the whole cook really kind of negatively affects the cook anyway, because a brisket, which is what we do here, of course, really has different fire needs throughout that entire cook. You know, like different fats render at different temperatures and different times, and damage control on the flat, but keep the point juicy, but render this, but get the collagen to break down, different like air speeds, all that stuff, different things out of the wood that collect at different times during the cook. Like you can't really, if you had a damper, then you just kind of like set it and you're not paying attention to all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's excessively detailed for a home cook. I definitely admit that. But, you know.
No, we'd love to know all the detail, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Like, and hopefully get to a point where we can talk about like rendering these fats with confidence and like everything you just said. I would love to one day be able to talk a little like that, because I'm not
Or
gonna...
just fake it till you make it. Just kidding.
People would be able to tell. I give them something, they'd be like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah.
God, it's too salty.
Wow.
Yes, it is.
We've got a tough food critic over here as well.
I
She
bet.
rates our foods and everything's a 2 out of 10.
Really?
Everything.
Yeah. So
She's going to go far in life.
you've got to get higher than a 2 today, all
Oh,
right?
I hope so.
You did get a yummy for the brisket yesterday.
Good.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
then we'll be sure we get her an end cut.
So, without further ado, let's meet Alan. Alan.